I never believed houses could remember people. I believed in plumbing problems, in bad wiring, in mold that crept through walls like a slow disease. I believed in drafts that made doors close on their own, and old wood that popped and groaned at night. I believed fear came from the mind, not the walls. That belief lasted exactly 10 nights. I moved into the house on Kearney Street because it was cheap and close to my new job. The realtor was too eager, which should have been my first warning. She talked fast, avoided eye contact, and handed me the keys like she wanted the transaction finished before she changed her mind. "Old place," she said, "but solid. Just don't use the crawl space unless you have to." I laughed, assuming it was a joke. She didn't laugh back. The house was a single-story structure built sometime in the 1950s. Beige siding, narrow windows, a porch that sagged slightly in the middle. Nothing about it looked haunted. It looked tired, like it had been standing too long and didn't know how to rest. The first night passed quietly. The second night, too. By the third night, I started noticing sounds. At first, it was just tapping. Not on the walls, not on the roof, under the floor. I told myself it was an animal, rats maybe. The neighborhood was old, and old neighborhoods always had rats. The sound came in slow, uneven patterns. Tap, pause, tap, tap, pause. What bothered me wasn't the noise itself, it was the timing. The tapping always started at 2:17 a.m. exactly. I checked the time the first night out of irritation, the second night out of curiosity, the third night out of unease. 2:17 a.m. every time. By the fifth night, sleep deprivation had turned my thoughts dark. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, counting taps. When the sound stopped, I felt worse, like something had paused only because it knew I was listening. On the sixth day, I mentioned it to my neighbor, Mrs. Hargreave, an elderly woman who'd lived next door for decades. Her face changed the moment I described the noise. "You hear it too," she said. "Too?" She pressed her lips together. "It usually takes newcomers a while." That should have been the moment I packed my things. Instead, I asked her what she meant. She looked at my house, then at the ground, then back at me. People used to live there, a family, long time ago. Something happened under that house. Like what? She shook her head. You don't want to know. That night, the tapping changed. It moved. Instead of coming from one spot, it traveled beneath the floorboards, slowly, deliberately, as if something was crawling under the house, stopping every few feet to knock. Tap. Pause. Tap. At 2:17 a.m., I sat up in bed and said out loud, "Stop." The tapping stopped immediately. My blood went cold. Then something else began. Scraping. A long, dragging sound, like fingernails pulling across dirt and wood. It circled beneath the bedroom, then the hallway, then the living room. I stayed frozen, barely breathing, listening to it map my house from below. When it stopped, I didn't sleep again until sunrise. The crawlspace entrance was in the back of the house, hidden behind a warped wooden panel. I avoided it for days, pretending I could live with the noise, but curiosity mixed with a growing sense of dread finally pushed me to act. On the 9th day, I bought a flashlight, gloves, and a dust mask. The panel came off easier than expected. A wave of cold air poured out, carrying the smell of damp earth and something else, like rust and rot. I crouched and shined the flashlight inside. The crawl space was low, barely 3 feet high. Dirt floor, wooden beams, pipes running like veins overhead. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. Then I noticed the marks. Lines scratched in the dirt. Not random, parallel, like something had been dragged back and forth repeatedly. Farther in, I saw handprints, human handprints. They were pressed deep into the dirt, fingers splayed, as if someone had been trying to pull themselves forward. The flashlight beam trembled in my grip. I should have left. Instead, I crawled inside. The temperature dropped as I moved deeper. My breath fogged the mask. The air felt thick, heavy, like it hadn't been disturbed in years. About 10 feet in, I found the light. A bare bulb hung from a wire nailed into one of the beams. It was on. I stared at it, confused. I hadn't turned on any power to the crawl space. In fact, I wasn't even sure it was wired. The bulb flickered. Tap, tap. The sound came from directly behind me. I spun around, smashing my head against a beam. Pain exploded through my skull, but I couldn't scream. I couldn't, because I wasn't alone. Something crouched at the edge of the crawlspace entrance. It was shaped like a man, but wrong in ways my brain struggled to process. Too thin, limbs bent at angles they shouldn't, skin stretched tight over bones, gray and dirt-streaked. Its eyes reflected the flashlight beam, shining like wet stones. Its mouth opened, and it tapped the ground with one finger, once. I scrambled backward, kicking dirt, slamming into beams. The creature crawled forward with terrifying speed, joints popping softly as it moved. Tap, tap. I screamed then, a raw animal sound, and kicked blindly until my heel connected with something solid. The creature recoiled, hissing, not loud, but close, right inside my head. I bolted for the entrance, tearing the mask off my face, bursting into daylight like a man escaping a grave. I slammed the panel back into place and stacked everything I could against it. That night, the tapping didn't wait for 2:17 a.m. It started the moment the lights went out. I tried to leave. I packed a bag, loaded my car, and turned the key. Nothing. The engine didn't even try to start. My phone had no signal, no bars, no emergency calls. Inside the house, the lights flickered. Tap, tap. The sound came from everywhere now. Under the floor, inside the walls, above the ceiling. I backed towards the door. That's when I heard my name. Soft, careful, spoken in my own voice. Come down, it said. The crawlspace panel shuddered. I don't remember deciding to go back under the house. I only remember the feeling that resistance was pointless, that the house itself was leaning inward, guiding me. The panel lay open. The light was brighter now. I crawled inside, tears streaking my face, whispering apologies to no one. The creature waited beneath the bulb. Up close, I could see others behind it. Shapes, people, or what was left of them. They forgot us, the thing said, its mouth barely moving. The house didn't. I understood then. The family, the neighbors, everyone who'd lived here before. They never left. The bulb flickered violently. Tap, tap, tap. The last thing I saw was the light going out. Mrs. Hargreave heard the tapping stop 10 nights after I moved in. A week later, a new realtor stood on the porch, keys in hand, smiling too eagerly. The house waited. It always does.